On? Okay, perfect. All right. Hey everyone, I hope you guys are enjoying the conference so far. I just wanted to remind you all to turn your phones to silent. If you guys have to take a phone call or something, just be discreet about it. So yeah. Hi everyone, my name's Adriana Pucciano and I'm one of the lead animators at Creative Assembly. Before I start my talk, I actually wanted to know a little bit more about my audience, if that's okay. So do any of you guys know that person? You know the type of person that I'm talking about, the one that seems to always have it together. The type of person who, under stressful conditions, they always seem to keep their cool, they manage their workload with ease, they're always staying productive, they're doing cool stuff outside of work all the time, and you're sitting here thinking, like, how the heck do they have it all together? Like, how are they managing to do so much? Hands up if you know that guy. Yeah. Well, I have this friend, and I met this friend at the Creative Assembly a few years ago when he was my senior and I was just starting out. He was an amazing animator, still is. He was always doing the best work. I was looking up to him, and even in his spare time, he was working on his own game. And he was doing the coding, he was doing the modeling, he was doing the rigging, he was doing design work, and it was all really good. And I was just like, how is this guy just doing everything? He wasn't just a role model, like, with work stuff as well. Like, he was going to the gym, he had a six-pack going on as well, he managed to maintain it. He was even playing the drums and keeping up with that. And he was even managing to teach himself Japanese, and he went from knowing nothing to being fluent in 6 months. Yeah. I was like, how is this possible? So I had the opportunity, because he's there, I decided to go and ask him about, well, what was his schedule like? How is he getting all this done? So he told me, and one of the things that really stuck with me was that he went to bed at around 2 a.m. and he would wake up at something like 4 or 5 a.m. And I was like, whoa, okay, is this the secret to his success? Did I just need to sacrifice a little bit of sleep, or maybe a lot of sleep, to get things done? So I decided to give it a shot. Now, before you guys start saying, okay, yeah, of course it's not going to end well if you're not sleeping, I didn't go as crazy as him. I just decided to go to bed a little bit later and wake up a little bit earlier. But by the third day, I just felt so burnt out that I was like, oh man, why am I struggling with this? So I gave it another shot, actually. And again, I was like, even though I was determined to make it work, I was at my desk going through like the Haribo, trying to stay awake, and here he is like doing this amazing animation, and I was like, why isn't this not working for me? Was I just weak? Like, am I just not cut out for it? Is there some sort of secret that I'm not in on? Well, through my experience and through learning, I've actually learned that there is no secret. It is available to everyone, and I'm here to share that with you guys. So why listen to me? Over 3 years ago, I found myself in a situation where I was managing a lot of responsibilities over an extended period of time. And during this time, I ended up suffering from general anxiety disorder. So you know that feeling that you get in your gut when you're really nervous, palms sweaty, butterflies in your stomach, a little bit like I am feeling right now. But imagine having that every moment of every day. Every moment of every day I was just in panic mode. When you have general anxiety disorder, you feel like every decision that you could make could lead to a terribly wrong decision that ends up ruining your reputation and ends up being like some sort of catastrophe. This was definitely the case for me because my own expectations were very high as well. And I just found myself that I couldn't say no to things. To me, saying no meant that I wasn't capable. And if I wasn't capable, that meant I was a failure and I could be easily replaced. So I had to kind of reel it back and kind of wondered, how did it get to a point where it was so unmanageable? What was the tipping point? For me, I think it started at school. I know that a lot of schools nowadays are quite competitive when it comes to the art industry. And even though teachers mean well and they're just trying to encourage, in my school at least, it was perpetuated and it was constant that they were telling us it's competitive out there. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to get a job. And if you weren't going to do the best that you could, if you weren't the best, there were a whole lot of artists out there who were willing to do it cheaper, faster, even better quality, or even do unpaid internships. So the term slacker was even thrown around by classmates as a sort of joking manner, like, oh, you only did 2 extra hours of life drawing. Well, you're a slacker. You decided not to do an extra drawing in your sketchbook tonight, slacker. And although it was kind of a joke, it was almost starting to get ingrained in us, and it started then not to feel like a joke anymore. Luckily, you can always come back to being in a state of balance. I'm not a sufferer of general anxiety disorder anymore, but it doesn't mean that I don't feel the same pressures of burning out like as everyone else does. I just found a way that works for me to be able to actually thrive with the stresses of life and the stresses of the studio environment and even feelings of overwhelm. And I want to share what I've learned and the most valuable changes that I've incorporated in my life to you guys. I believe that it starts first with thought management. I came to realize that I was developing negative thinking patterns that started to become more and more common. And there's actually 10 of these negative thinking patterns called cognitive distortions in clinical psychology. For example, I dealt with a lot of black and white thinking. That's what it's deemed as. So if I wasn't the best, it means I was crap. I was the worst. If I had to say no, it means that I couldn't do it. And I was a failure. And if I was a failure, then they'd ship me back to Canada. That's where I'm from, not America. These thoughts get out of control because at least for me, actually, I was kind of stuck in this cycle. These negative thoughts were attracting more negative thoughts and picking up momentum. And it was making me feel that more exaggerated of an emotion because of that. And yeah, I was feeling worse and worse and worse. I couldn't get out of it. And then I was just questioning, I forgot how to even look at things in a matter of perspective. I was never good enough. I was constantly comparing myself to my peers. And usually that's fine. That's a good thing to compare yourself. But when there's a lack of balance, it becomes really self-destructive. Everyone was telling me I was great, but I didn't know why. I couldn't believe them. So I had to take a step back and ask myself, what's my current reality? I had to halt this thought process and pull the momentum out of it. So some of the things that I did was to stop criticizing myself immediately and being more aware of when I was putting myself down, especially putting myself down in a matter that wasn't constructive as well. I was trying to use real evidence to get a more centered perspective. If someone was telling me that I was good, I had to believe that there was no ulterior motive behind it. Like, yeah, okay, they're giving me a compliment. I had to learn to accept it. and generally be more mindful. I also had to realize at this time I couldn't switch off. I felt like I had to be doing something. If I wasn't doing something, it made me feel like I was wasting precious time that I could be doing something, or someone could even get ahead. What I realized was that energy management and not time management was the key. I wasn't able to focus on the current task because I was thinking about the next thing that I needed to do. And as I slowed down, I learned to be how important it was to be present. And when I became more present, I realized when my prime times were. Remember that friend that I talked about at the beginning of the talk? Well, the reason why his method didn't work for me was because I was most efficient in the day when the sun was out. I don't know why I moved to England, but I failed to realize that I was more efficient at doing things at different times than him. So it wasn't worth me trying to stay up, chipping away at a drawing in the middle of the night when I'm half asleep. It was more worth my time to get an early night and then wake up early with those kind of priorities already set in my mind and get to it right away. So as I started to optimize, I also realized where were my time wasters? And you have to kind of ask yourselves that. Where are your biggest time wasters? And start to replace them as well. Obviously, this isn't always possible. But if you go into the day optimizing where you can, you find that you can get more done in that day. So it'll expand to my day-to-day work. I'll get in, do a quick scan of emails, but I already know what I want to do that day, and then reevaluate my priority list and tackle the most demanding things in the morning. So I realized that it's sometimes hard to decide what you want to make time for because we only have a limited amount of time in that day, and sometimes it's not always possible. And it doesn't come down to just productivity stuff either. During my time when I was suffering with general anxiety disorder, I realized that I was making unhealthy compromises to my life. I was sacrificing other things that were important to me, and I wasn't realizing it at the time. And that was making me feel unhappy. For example, I'm sure we all love what we do. We all love making games. But even though you want to stay late and work on a feature that you're passionate about, if you had to sacrifice time tucking your children in at night, and that's something that's really important to you, and you find that you can't balance that, then you do start to become unhappy. Work starts to feel like you're feeling like it's a grind. Oh, I don't even get to see my kids at night anymore. So it's important to know what are your non-negotiables. Sometimes also our habits don't reflect how we actually want to live. For me, that's definitely the case all the time, even still. I wake up telling myself that I'm going to do all the things today. I'm going to go to the gym, eat healthy, do some amazing work, leave on time, all that stuff, and then I don't. Something always gets in the way. So for me, I had to figure out, well, what was my smallest goal possible that I could hit? What is your minimum requirement? If I wanted to learn how to do rigging, for example, or even if I wanted to start to be able to draw more often and complete an illustration once a week, for me, that minimum requirement would just be one line in that sketchbook. One line, and it's something that I can do and I can stick to. Now, why one line in a sketchbook you feel like that's not going to get me anywhere? Well, a habit that you can do daily will create momentum as well. Just like those negative thoughts create momentum, the more and more you get into a habit of doing something, the more you will be inclined to do it because it's easy, and then also say, well, my book's out, I've done a line, but it's out already, I might as well do a little bit more work on it. You're more inclined to do more. So even though I set myself that goal, I still kind of found it hard to even, I have to get up and get out my sketchbook, really. And I couldn't seem to get myself excited about doing it. And what helped me the most was actually replacing should with could. So even the way that I say it, like, oh, I should really draw tonight, or I should really stay late and do some extra animation, I haven't done some in so long, it starts to sound like a responsibility. And turning it into could actually changes it to being a possibility. So I could draw today if I wanted. It stops being a criticism or something making me realize that I was lacking. And it made me feel more in control of my choices as well. So I could draw a little bit more, but do I want to spend a bit more time on Netflix? Yeah, okay, yeah, but that's fine. I've decided that, and I don't feel guilty about it. And I also had to realize that I couldn't do everything. Scheduling to fail actually helps us create a buffer time, especially at work, to alleviate some of the pressures of deadlines. So we have to anticipate that not everything will go to plan. And at least for me, scheduling to fail lets me be a bit more open to experimenting and naturally allows me to be a bit more creative because of that. And because I'm able to take more risks, I find that I end up with more strokes of brilliance, if that makes any sense. Physicality also plays a very important role. Asking for help and surrounding yourself with important people will definitely lift you up. Work will be more fun if you surround yourself with people who are excited about what you do and want to see you grow. Don't be afraid to ask for help, like I said. It doesn't mean that you're not capable. If anything, it means that you're more resourceful because you're not being a time waster. You're asking someone for help right away so you can get on with doing what you do best. Also, your work environment, to make that a really happy place that you're excited to get to, like knowing that you have these awesome headphones that you can listen to some really cool music while you work, makes you comfortable, or your favorite figurines around your desk, something that you enjoy going to. It makes it an enjoyable place and you want to get there. At Creative Assembly, I find like the people that I work with are all like really supportive, really amazing, and we even have like standing desks, so it changes your physical state of being, and I find that helps to change your mental state as well. And just to kind of demonstrate this, can I get you all guys to stand up? If you're willing, if you're able to, of course. So, and I want you to raise your hand if you've had your morning coffee today. Now, those of you who haven't had your morning coffee today, obviously, you guys don't even need to raise your hand. Raise your other hand because you guys already have your energy. I know you've had your morning coffee. I know you have, Pav. You've had your morning coffee, your mid-morning coffee, your breakfast coffee, your lunch coffee. I know you. Okay, guys, you can sit back down. Thank you. So yeah, I'm sure you guys are also looking forward to your next coffee too. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of energy. So at least for me, actually, I wondered that how was I not able to handle stress as well as some other people? None of this thought management was possible without a strong foundation, though, I realized. And I was wondering that how come they were just able to stay calm in these stressful situations? And I found out that it comes down to biology, actually. So I was in this vicious circle of reaching for the coffee, being super tired, drinking the coffee, and then, it gives me some energy, but then feeling like I was hitting that slump again. And I didn't know exactly why it was happening. But as I did some research, I actually found some very interesting things. I found out that having too much coffee, sugar, and stress lead to low magnesium levels. And your stress hormones, such as cortisol, uses up magnesium to help regulate your body's responses to the stress. And low levels of magnesium also can lead to headaches, feeling tired, feeling low, anxious, and even to problems sleeping. So as soon as I started to look at my nutrition and supplement where possible and just try and get a bit more balance in my life, it was like a difference between night and day. No pun intended. But I immediately felt like I was able to cope better. And I was able to even sleep better within a couple of days. So through all of this, I find relaxing and taking that time to learn how to relax was one of the most important things. We're all game makers and we're all creative people. So don't chain yourself to the desk if you don't have to. Take a break. Your job depends on this creativity. So your creativity depends on what you fuel it with. So going outside and engaging in a little bit of fun is actually nourishing for you, both in yourself and in your work as well. So if you go out even and get some vitamin D out in the sun, it actually helps to absorb some of that magnesium as well. So another reason to go outside. So just to recap, thought and energy management is the key. So not necessarily always time management. Use your micro goals to form habits. Feel free to take pictures of the slides, by the way. Schedule for downtime. It will happen. Even if it doesn't happen through something work-related, it will happen even if you're feeling a bit tired or just can't seem to, if you have a little bit of artist block. Create a supportive environment as well. Surround yourself with people and things that you love. And take care of your body. It makes a bigger difference than you would expect. And it's a solid foundation for all the other stuff to start building on. And I know it's not usually very helpful, but I just wanted to say, keep calm and game on. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this talk and can take at least one thing away. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them now. And also, if you want to ask me a question in private, I'll be here and I'm happy to answer them. So thank you so much for your time.
So you obviously created Assembly, have worked on some really big brands, some really big franchises. How do you manage some of the stresses that are associated with working with those large brands? And how did you manage to apply that during dealing with external studios who have such an investment in the representation of their product? Yeah, so
at Creative Assembly, we actually have a really good marketing team. So if you have any stresses with trying to work with brand that way, they're all there to kind of support you as well. That's why I'm saying the supportive environment is so important, because if you felt like I had all this responsibility all just on myself to deal with these outsourcing companies, it can definitely feel overwhelming. So being able to ask for that help and kind of delegate that some of those responsibilities to someone else, or someone else to kind of support you with that, helps to alleviate that stress, definitely. Anyone else? Yeah?
Have you got any tips on how to create a supportive and fun environment?
I find surround yourself with things that you really love at first. So like I said, figurines, good music. You find out what works kind of for you. And I find actually opening up yourself a little bit helps to kind of draw like people in. So you kind of, I believe at least, whenever I was more open, I was attracting people who were a bit more open and supportive as well. So, I mean, all of us want that good support around, and realizing that I can be part of that support too actually made a difference. So while I was helping other people, I was kind of like helping myself in that same sort of manner where, then they were opening up to me and I was helping them, and it becomes kind of like a nice group or team and that anyone's invited to. But the more that you can give as well, like the more you find people are willing to give back. Cool. Anyone? No? Okay. Well, thank you guys. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. And like I said, I'll be around. You can find me on Twitter and stuff as well if you want to ask any questions there. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I hope this was helpful.